He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Now, many people would read that and they say, well, clearly we're talking about people who are unbelievers. As we continue through this lesson this morning, you're going to find that we actually find believers that fall into this category of continuously living in or practicing sin. And while I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this specific topic right here of those who are continuously practicing sin, I have to take a small pause for a second, because there may be some who would be watching this online and they may be honestly asking themselves, well, I don't really know what sin is. Or, as many of us know, we'll have conversations with people and we'll say the Bible teaches that is sinful, and they'll say, well, I really don't think it is. And as you guys know, even in our society today, everybody seems to have their own idea of what is sin. Well, we are very blessed in the fact that the Bible gives the definition for sin. And so for anybody who might be here listening to this online or here this morning who is wondering, how do I know what sin is? Go over to 1 John 3:4, where it states by inspiration, whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. So very simply, we understand that those who are practicing continuous sin are practicing continuous violation of God's law. And to simplify this even more for someone who maybe is not familiar with this, the Bible is full of both what we would call positive and negative commands. What I mean is there are things we can do and there are things we cannot do, and a violation of those commands is sin. That should pretty much summarize the idea here of those who are continuously practicing in sin without me listing all of the different things they could do wrong. That's the first group. The second group that John speaks about, he calls the one born of God. This is the person who does not continuously practice sin or live in sin. Going over to 1 John 3:9, we were just in verse 8. Verse 9, we see the second group. Whosoever is born of God doth not commit sin. Let me pause for a minute. He's not saying those that are born of God do not ever sin, and we know that because, and this isn't in your notes, Romans 3:23 teaches we have all sinned and come short of the glory of God. So he's not teaching that the person who is of God has never sinned. It is the person who is not continuing or practicing in sin, and I know that because as we go on in verse 9, notice this, for his seed remaineth in him. You may be saying, what seed? What's he talking about? All right, he doesn't commit sin because the seed, which is the Word of God, this isn't in your notes, write down Luke 8:11, the seed remains in him, okay? So he's not sinning because the Word of God remains in him. He goes on, and he cannot sin because he is born of God. Now again, it's not saying that he physically cannot sin. We've already shown Bible verses that state that all men have sinned. Again, Romans 3:23. It's saying he knows he cannot. He cannot participate in sin because he is born of God. All right, John continues to illustrate this contrast between the children of God and the children of the devil, and he really gives two criteria which distinguish them. Notice in verse 10, in this the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God, neither he that loveth not his brother. Now, I think we understand that a Christian can only be righteous